Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and address the gathering today. It's a really wonderful initiative from IPPN, and I really appreciate the fact that they've decided to go both primary and post-primary, because the issue of well-being across the educational sector, I think, affects every school in the country. In my brief words to you today, I want to associate myself with everything that's been said by the Ombudsman, by Rosaleen and by Pat. I think it's wonderful to find the different perspectives that we come from within the different sectors. I have a few points to share with you very, very briefly. Our dilemma at second level revolves around the fact that schools are expected to tackle and solve most of society's or societal problems. And it was interesting, the top 10 that came from Rosaleen's research in relation to issues that affect the students' behaviour in school. And from the point of view of a school principal at second level, the most important thing I think you can do is to create a positive school climate in the school. But amongst the societal problems are issues to do with marital disharmony, alcohol, drug abuse in the home or in schools, the issues to do with cyber pressures and bullying and how that can transcend into home and outside school activities. The other aspect of it that's got a little bit of publicity recently is the over-sexualisation of children at primary level, and the fact that now everybody seems to have access to the most sophisticated of electronic devices and so on. And that pressure that's been put on children at a very, very young age. Sometimes it's really hard to find positive role models. And certainly when Niall was talking earlier on about individuals in the world of sport or the world of media that may be addressing particular issues to do with depression or coming out or other things like that, I think that that is wonderful. But what we want to try and do is to create as many positive role models in our school settings as we can. And the role of the principal and the school leader and the year head and the individual teacher is to nurture and to encourage that type of interaction within schools which encourages that. The other thing that's changed, and I would have felt that in the run-up to 2007, 2008, 2009, there was developing in our schools and in our society very much a culture of self-gratification, a Mayfain culture, that's all, what's in it for me and so on. And that type of a mindset does affect personal interactions within schools and without. There's no doubt about that. But hopefully, in the context of the huge economic downturn that's taking place, or has taken place, that we will have gone back to the old way of the mehel, of looking out for one another, of being in position to try and be supportive. I think that is just so important. Interesting that Pat mentioned about transition from primary to post-primary and transition from preschool into primary as being key points. And his point about, the preschool to primary being more problematic for parents, I think that that's certainly true. But there's no doubt about it. We're moving from a primary sector where the child is at the heart of the education endeavour into a second level sector where sometimes competition rather than collaboration is at the core of what we're dealing with. And that can be really, really difficult for children moving from the nurturing environment of their primary school into a post-primary school where they're meeting 9 or 10 teachers during the day and perhaps doing up to 12 or 13 subjects in their first year. That is really, really difficult. And I'm not sure that we've put in place the appropriate supports insofar as we can to enable the students to cope. Because in truth, we're really happy with our primary schools, and we should be. We're also, unfortunately, for the most part, really happy with our second level schools, and I would contend that we probably shouldn't be, because what we're asking the children to do at second level within I know next year is the year of the centenary celebrations and so on, but what Padraig Pearse called the murder machine of education. The points system, which is at the core of our second level, encourages a system of competition rather than collaboration and working together to encourage that. I think that it is something where we need to actually look at the type of curriculum that we are offering our students in second level and make sure that for the 20% of those students that our curriculum doesn't suit, that we try and put in place more meaningful experiences for them so that they can look to belong in our second level school. Because it seems to me that at second level, what we value is all of the good things that were mentioned earlier on, but the preeminence of the search for points puts enormous pressure on the students and on their parents and on the school to deliver. And certainly, Pat referred to the 3,300 primary schools, the over 700 second level schools that's there. There are a number of arguments and debates to be had about the number of schools that are appropriate, about the size of school, which is most effective at second level, about the age to start schooling at primary level and so on. These things are things that we need to have a national debate about. But there is a consensus that because our second level system meets the needs of most of our students, their well-being can suffer, many of them, because we're asking them to do things that they're not happy doing within a curriculum that doesn't meet their particular needs. To create an appropriate school climate, I think it is really important that the parent body feel valued, that they have access to teachers, that there's close collaboration between the school and an effective parents' association. The most important people, apart from the staff within the schools, which are absolutely vital to the success, are the students. And a very, very effective student council promoting good student voice, where people are engaged in conversations and people feel that they have a stake in their school. I think that that is just so important, absolutely important within a school. So a valuable parents group and an effective student group, I think they are the most key parts of creating a very, very positive. Certainly in the last while, middle leadership in second level has been absolutely decimated as a result of the moratorium. So when the Ombudsman says it's not so much about resources, that the key people are the main resource, certainly in issues to do at second level with year heads, with pastoral care supports, with the decline in guidance counsellor supports within schools, I think that has had an effect. But I must welcome the restoration, the initial restoration of some of those guidance supports, which will take effect at second level from the 1st of September next year. And I look forward to engaging with the Institute and also with the Department of Education to put in place ways that we can have guidance for our students, because there's no doubt about it that the particular expertise of the guidance counsellor, properly harnessed, can create a very, very effective pastoral role within the school. In the United Kingdom, and this was referenced earlier on, most students have access to appropriate counselling within schools. It's something that we aspire to hear, but we haven't managed as yet to deliver it. But from what Rosaline was saying about the surveys that were taken in 2011, I think it was, and then the investment that took place after it, investment will reap dividends, but we must realise that the mental health investment of part of the budget a number of years ago was the order of 13%. This year it's less than 6%. And certainly if the resources aren't given to those areas of child and adolescent mental health, it's very, very difficult for us in schools to have the level of expertise to be able to row in. Because other than the parents and the home, students are most associated with their schools, and extra resources are needed for principals, for teachers, for year heads and guidance counsellors to put in place appropriate training and to enable individuals recognising some of the symptoms and some of the signs of students in distress, so that we can know where to and when to ask for help. Certainly, appropriate guidance support is at the heart of an effective pastoral care school plan, and my colleagues at second level are clear in their minds that the appropriate individuals, the appropriate year heads, the appropriate class tutors, an effective model of pastoral care within the schools will help to identify things earlier on. Certainly, one of the saddest things to have to do is to go and review your critical incident plan after there's been a tragic event in schools. But that is something that happens more and more at second level, and unfortunately even at primary level on occasions. And I'm very taken by the quote that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And by absolutely putting in place the appropriate resources to prevent suicidal ideation and suicidal tendencies, to promote positive role models, and the school can play its part. Because certainly schools that have effective pastoral care structures, that have effective extracurricular structures, whether it's in games or drama or debating and so on, where students can be involved in those extra and co-curricular activities, it means that they get their highs from wholesome activities, where positive role models and respect can be at the heart of their lives, rather than retreating into dark corners where tragedies can occur. Offering unconditional love and respect within a school has to be at the core of what we want to do. There was a brilliant book published in 2008 by Alice Leahy called Wasting Time with People. And I do agree with the Ombudsman when it says sometimes resources aren't the issue. We need to actually give time to individuals where we can grow and where we can develop close bonds and relationships, because I was quite taken with what Pat said. They may not remember what we teach, but they remember how we treat them. And that should be at the core of where we're going. There are potential signs for improvement, because at the moment we're coming out of a recession. And I think that there is a recognition of the necessary supports that are needed to help schools to cope. And I would hope that as we continue our economic growth, that the necessary investment will be made for principals and for teachers to enable them to recognise danger signs and to recognise ways that we can support the students. I want to compliment again IPPN for organising this day, which really is a first, where people from first level and second level have had the opportunity to gather, to have wonderful presentations from experts in the area, and for us to be able to mix, mingle and interact over coffee and over lunch, so that when we go back, the message that positive well-being and a positive emotional well-being in our schools, affecting the staff, affecting the students, should be at the heart of a debate that will have widespread positive repercussions in the years to come. Thank you very much.